Right. So thanks for that feedback. What about you, um, Cynthia? Good morning again. Good morning. I noticed you joined. We're just talking about experience with the course so far. What have you been able to do, and are you facing any challenges?
Good morning, Prof. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah,
Um,
good morning.
I've done the section one and I've started the section two. I think I've got a couple. I think I've done about 3 videos of the section two. Then the only difficulty I'm getting now is linking up my AWS account with my Visual Studio Code. So I don't know because I had an existing Visual Studio Code. It's my AWS account was suspended. I'm still waiting for a feedback from them. They said they are gonna unsuspend it. So then the Visual Studio that I had before is a little bit crowded. I don't know how to set it up back again. I don't know how to fix it. So that's I don't have a problem with the course, but I have other issues.
Okay, that's
Mm.
fine. We'll get there as well. So thank you for that feedback. Um, Seems as all that trend. But read one, have you faced anything or how far have you gone? Which section are you on? Babe, after I know you gave any other new update from what you gave us on chat.
No challenges so far. It's going smoothly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think I should be on section 5 now
Okay,
or 4. I
that's
don't
good.
remember. Yeah.
All right. Okay, that's good. Yeah. So there are some people making progress. There are some who have some challenges. And that's why this is a group study. That's the mindset. Um, so that's what I'll encourage, that as a group study, I really want to see more participation in the chat, either people posting the challenges they are having, and then those who have completed those challenges or who have moved in, why not answer, or why not just give a response, ask them what they can do, and then in the worst case, if you can schedule some time aside to troubleshoot and help someone, that is great, because it gives you skills to also see how you can actually resolve someone's problem. Um, and then that can be either aside or it can be then done on the site study on Monday, right? But I actually did schedule Divine to do the session today, but unfortunately, he just told me yesterday evening that he cannot do the session due to an emergency at work and he had to travel early this morning. Divine is one of the members from the previous cohort that is going to be in this group as well, and will join in once we start with other things. Friday, it's Tatiana. I hope she will be able to join. I don't see her this morning. I'll reach out. So I'm going to stand and do the session today, but it gives the opportunity for me to also maybe show the kind of expectation I'm looking at. So for next week, I'm going to pick 2 other people who can present, and then the following week. So everyone should just be putting in mind on how they can do a presentation. But let me see if I can share my screen. Just that before I continue discussing other things I want to talk about. Where is the share option? Okay. Yeah, just give me thumbs up once you can see. Just that I'm aware that you're already seeing. Okay. Thank you, Cynthia and Stephanie. All right. So just as before we start, so every big structure begins with a strong blueprint, lay the foundation so you can build anything. So I'm just trying to talk about this in relation to CloudFormation. And before we go ahead to start on the course, what I'm just going to, I know that I know one person did contact me, and I was just trying to give advice, which I would like to share here as well. The point is, there can be so much you may want to do at the moment so that you get ready. But one thing I want to point is it's good to have breadth. Breadth means in your studies, you learn many things. But what actually also stands out is how much depth you have, right? So you have built a very AWS Solutions Architect, as I said, is a very strong certification, and it says a lot almost on what you know on AWS. If you have taken time to really learn the material to a certain extent, the labs are important. And I'll always go back to quote Tatiana, or to give Tatiana as an example, because she remains the person, or the very first person who joined with from cloud with no knowledge, but was able to get a job after 9 months. For those of you who listen to her, and she was able to get the job because she developed a depth in what she was studying. She had not yet done cloud formation. She had not yet done Terraform, right? AI was not yet so popular. But the key thing is she did a lot of labs, really seriously, and taking time to really understand what was happening in such a way that when she went to an interview and they were talking on compute, she could talk about it with depth, right? Most of you will be applying for maybe junior position roles, of course, from a start. And looking forward to, if you are looking at job applications, of course, you see many of these things that you need. But as you are studying, while still studying and preparing for the job, take your time in such a way that when you are learning something, you really get to the depth of it. Like, for example, cloud formation. The course is about 8 sections that it's about 8 hours that someone can finish it in 2 days. But if you finish it, how much depth of cloud formation do you know? So my recommendation is, apart from following, the structure is easy and simple. It shows you what you should be doing. Also, go ahead and look at AWS documentation. I'll try to show that to supplement what he's doing, right? If you finish what is a stack, you should be able to define what a cloud formation stack is. Don't just learn that, okay, you can create a stack, but can you really go ahead and in a conversation, if you sit in an interview and you say, you've got it, you've listed that you have AWS cloud formation, and someone will ask you what is a stack, which are always some of the most basic questions they ask in an interview. You should be able to explain it. So, and that then puts me in the situation where, like, the advice I was given with the person who told me is, yeah, it's okay don't try to learn CloudFormation and Terraform at the same time. It's very likely you may be feeling you know something, but you may just learn them at the surface. If you take the next 3 weeks or 1 month and say you're just going to focus more on CloudFormation, um, depending on your schedule, and really get to the depth of it, because once you learn it, you close it. That's all. Which goes to the other thing of I'm saying, learning CloudFormation well is it's going to be present with almost every AWS certification you do. If you want to do SysOps, there's CloudFormation. If you want to do the developer, there's a whole section on CloudFormation. The same with DevOps, the same with networking. And I'm sure that is that's what all of you want to do. So if you take time and learn CloudFormation now, you've covered already a section on other places, other certifications you'll be doing. People will say Terraform is, Terraform is cloud agnostic, it's popular, but there are many solutions that are already ready as AWS CloudFormation. You may be in a company and they just need you to deploy a CloudFormation template. So if you have it and you maybe want to look in Terraform, that's okay. But if you don't go ahead and really just learn the foundations and pick the fundamentals such that they are clear for you once and for all, if you just rush on the surface and move on, you don't do yourself good service, right? So always think again. I go back to Tatiana, make sure that when you are learning something, get to the depth of it, focus some time and get to it one thing at a time. If you try to do so many things at the same time, what will happen is, yeah, you have all the skills listed, but if someone tries to test you on that, you start struggling, right? So the skills, getting a job is not necessarily going to be about so many skills you can list that you have, but how many of them can you really, let's say in an interview, discuss and prove that you have that. So that's my word of advice. Just depending on your schedule, when you pick something, try to really focus on it, learn the foundation, be comfortable with it, and then move to the next thing. If you do so many at the same time, you may after realize that after 2-3 months, what do you know? Yeah, you may just be blank. Yeah, so just keep that in mind. And do that. And CloudFormation is a very important skill that should not be underestimated, especially if your cloud background is AWS. If you are doing something like Azure, or if you are doing something like Google Cloud, okay, maybe you'll be just diving straight to Terraform. So that's my recommendation and the way you should approach your study now going forward. Go back and do the labs. If you are not comfortable with IAM labs, you can take time. What my recommendation is, at least each week, go to AWS workshop and do one lab. One lab is about 1 hour. Remember again, if you listen to Tatiana, she said the reason why she really got a job was she did so many labs. She really did understand these things. So that when you go to an interview, you can talk to these things. Learn the AWS definition of terms. There's nothing, everyone learns using AWS documentation. If someone asks you what is CloudFormation, and you give the definition that you find in AWS documentation, everyone synchronizes with that. If you are struggling to use other words and you don't touch those key phrases that comes in, someone will always feel like there's something lacking. So go back and do some the AWS workshop, some of them that we have done. There are some of them we didn't even complete, right? There are a couple of labs in that all of you still have the link. You can always decide that each week you should do at least one lab. If you are struggling, on the Discord channel, there's a channel I've created for if you have difficulty. Let me see if I can show that. I want to migrate everyone to Discord. That will be happening once bit by bit. So there's a channel I have here, premium support, need help on a task. So if you are doing something that is outside CloudFormation or other thing that we are doing, you can always post it here. And then my encouragement again is, yeah, I could always pick it out and see what to do. Don't just hold it on your mind. But if you have a support, something you need help, just post here, right? So, so in conclusion, what I'm saying is, it's not going to be, there's so many skills that you have picked, but what's going to matter especially is how much depth you have in them. That can stand out, right? Yeah, so that's what I'll say. Now, in this presentation I'm doing, I'm going to, maybe this will give you people an idea of if you are called upon to do a presentation, this is what you should try to do. It must not be exactly this. The other thing is another skill to learn as a cloud engineer, presentation skills are very important, right? So learning to do presentations or preparing presentations should be something you should start practicing. Right? Don't be in a situation where if you want to do a short presentation of 5-10 slides, you don't even know. It becomes your first time. So learn to do that. Is the same method I've always used, like even for the CSOP exams. Immediately, I always finish with the Solutions Architect Associate. The course for CSOP is there. Then what happens is people just picks every part and try to learn how to present. That's something that will come later, but you can also do that when you are called upon to do the cloud formation section. And that's why it's important that everyone should be preparing, right? Should be studying and really going ahead and be able then to follow better. Okay, so any questions or thoughts on that opening? Or just give me thumbs up again on chat, let me know that you're there or you've captured all of that. All right, with one, Cynthia, Brother Ken. Okay, I hope everyone captures that. Okay. If any questions, you can always let me know as usual. So let's get into the course. Again, as usual, I just bring all of this. We are all familiar with this. Just recording, ask questions on Meet. This is a study group. It's not a course, so don't expect. Bring your feedback as well. The things you have studied as we go along, just add as we're going. If there's something missing. So the objective is, what is cloud formation? So we are dealing with section 1 of that course. It's talking about what is cloud formation stack, multiple stacks, YAML or JSON, integration with CloudTrail and IAM, Beanstalk, and then we'll do a demo. I think this shouldn't take us in the next 30 to 45 minutes. Let's see how far we can go. It's almost top of the hour. So cloud formation intro, this section 1 of the course. What are the prerequisites you need? AWS intermediate knowledge, all of you. Cloud formation is Solutions Architect Associate is almost moving a little bit to the advanced. So you have enough intermediate knowledge here. You understand the core services, compute, networking, storage, databases. You should be comfortable with that. Basic knowledge of YAML. You see that even if you don't know what it is, you can pick up on that faster. But let me see if I can bring, I just remembered something here. Let me see if I can have that. Code Cloud, yeah. There's a course for those who may be motivated. If you really want to do a YAML course, which can be about an hour. Code Cloud has you can sign on this website. You'll learn that, you'll realize later on that it will be one of those websites that will be important, especially when it has to do with Kubernetes and Docker. They have some very free courses, and one of them is on YAML. Where is the course? Let me see. It's YAML for beginners. So all you need to do is you can come and create an account here. It has a very good course on YAML. And okay, let me see. Where is the course located? Titus, I know you are here. You have done that course before. Do you remember the link for this course? They have changed your website a bit. If not, I'll look at that and share with all of you later. They keep changing. Let me see. All courses. Now they have even more here. All right, so for those who really, it's not really compulsory, but 45 minutes of just trying to see what that is not a bad idea. I'll try to look, I'll go straight to the link. I have it somewhere. But so not to take our time, let's proceed. So YAML and maybe that's why you are having some challenges, Brother Ken. We'll see. So you need to have this. As you notice, I've taken the screenshots from his course. This may be some copyright, but we are just using it here. So no one should share the slides out there. Yeah, so this is what you are doing. When you are called to present, you can use some of your slides, but then also along the line, you see, add certain things just to make sure that you are capturing what you are getting. So why CloudFormation? You know that in the beginning, when you start with AWS, you can manually create resources, right? You create resources using the management console, but if you are asked to create 10 EC2 instances, you realize that after some time, it can become really, really boring. Even if you know how to do it, just clicking, if you go to, imagine you go to work and you have to click the whole day, it becomes one of the most boring tasks and it's prone to error, as we'll see anyway. So you can manually create resources using the management console. That's why he had this, you create those resources. Another way is you can use automation scripts. That's what was being done before CloudFormation came into as a service came into play. So engineers were using automation scripts to create resources. But when there was a failure and you need to roll back, you realize that it became a problem. How do you roll back? How do you fix it? Rolling back is, let's say you create a set of resources and maybe it's not giving you what you want, and you want to like delete them and then come back and do something else. If you have used automation script, it's lacking in that. Just keep in mind, discussing these things are like, what's the case of CloudFormation, right? This is also a conversation you can be having. Why someone can ask you why do you need to use CloudFormation? So you have to be able to understand what had been done before, what were the drawbacks, and how CloudFormation stands out. Right. So if you're using automation script, this is what thing that can happen. Manual processes software said is prone to errors, is inconsistent because humans in general are bound to make errors. Even the best engineers, as long as it's done manually, it's never just, after some time, there's a brain fatigue and you can easily make an error, right? So it's not very, like I say, if you ask 10 people to create 10 EC2 instances, along the line from those 10, you realize that errors will come up, right? So you don't want to, repeating is a big problem. You don't want to be in that situation. So with CloudFormation, you can write an AWS CloudFormation template. So that's the what you should take into mind here. So when you see something like that template, you should be able to define what a CloudFormation template is, and it's containing the AWS resources you want to create, right? You see in here, he's highlighting template. So again, what is CloudFormation? I got this from AWS frequently asked questions. That's why I'm saying that when you are learning, try to pick the AWS language because everyone that is doing AWS, managers and everybody, they tend to get this information. So when you define CloudFormation in the language that people already relate to, you come closer, right? If you ask someone what's CloudFormation and they go around and start explaining it in other terms, and even though it still explains CloudFormation, but if you ask someone else who gives the definition that is on AWS and you as a manager, that's the one you recognize with, you just tend to find the other one speaking the language of AWS more likable. The other one has maybe explained it in other terms, but what's lacking is he's not speaking the language you really, really get, and you can start differentiating, or like even if you both of you have the same qualification, who will you pick? You see that you're oriented to the person who will. So that's why I brought this. CloudFormation is a service that gives developers and businesses an easy way to create a collection. So the key terms here, a collection of related AWS services. And to remember also third-party resources. So it's not just AWS, a collection of AWS resources. So the key thing you should also capture someone can ask you, can you also have third-party resources defined in CloudFormation? That's something that many people may not quickly remember. So you should take note of the fact that it's not just AWS resources, third-party resources can also be included in AWS templates. And of course, there's a way to do that. So you have a collection of related AWS and third-party resources. You provision and manage them in an orderly and predictable fashion. You provision and manage them in an orderly and predictable fashion, right? So make sure that you capture the. Now, this is something that is not in his notes, but something just like when you are doing your presentation, I was given the recommendation that everyone should get used to the CloudFormation documentation, right? Where is my that? Okay, there's not what I'm looking for. So get used to the AWS documentation that you have, and always look up some terminologies that come up. So at least this is one area. I'll just go ahead. I think I'll see the point that to you later. So this is like one thing you should do. You should go ahead and get that. So this is just extending what CloudFormation developers can deploy and update compute database and many other resources in a simple declarative style that abstracts away the complexity of specific resource APIs. So rather than you making the calls for the creation of each resource, you have everything in a template in a declarative style. So there are, when it comes to infrastructure as code, there are different styles to use, but the declarative style here is you declare what you want to have, and then AWS goes ahead and build it for you. So that's why it's referred to as a declarative style here, right? So normally you just say in the CloudFormation template, you say, I want an RDS database, I want a VPC. You are declaring the things you want. You put it into the AWS CloudFormation service, and it goes ahead and create all of that for you. So it's declarative style. So CloudFormation is designed to allow resources life cycles to be managed repeatably, predictable, and safely while allowing for automatic rollbacks. Now, that is what also makes it to stand out. The fact that you can do automatic rollbacks. That's not something you can do with automation scripts. That's not something you, with manually, is prone to errors. Automated state management of resources across accounts and regions, right? So that is the first thing you should do. If you are learning about CloudFormation, make sure that you capture the definition well, you capture some of the key things you can have a conversation with, and try to be very comfortable about that. Such that when you talk about it, someone can get a feeling that you really have a depth. If you say, yeah, you are doing CloudFormation, there should be some depth in what you're speaking about. So again, you manage your AWS resources as a group through a stack, as a group, right? And then through a stack. So the next question is, what is really a stack then? All right, so you're managing everything as a stack. A stack is a collection of AWS resources that you can manage as a single unit, right? This is again from AWS documentation. In other words, you can create, update, and delete a collection of resources by creating, updating, and deleting stacks. So get to be comfortable with what a stack is. Now you can talk about it. Creating a stack involves deploying a CloudFormation template. So as you will have noticed in the course, for every template that you have, when you go ahead and deploy it, that's what is called a stack. And when you have your template, maybe your template had AWS Lambda, it had VPC, it had RDS with a security group on it. So for that entire template, when you deploy it as one stack, so that will be a collection of resources that you'll be managing. All right. Anyone has a question on Stack? Are we all comfortable with that? I need to see every thumbs up. I'm just checking to make sure I'm not speaking to myself. Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Read one. Emmanuel, Cynthia, right. My brother Ken as well, everyone. Thank you very much. So make sure you really you are comfortable with what a stack is. It's very easy to relate to that. Thank you all. You can also remove all AWS resources managed by your stack by deleting it. That's the beauty of CloudFormation. Remember, when you do things manually and you have to delete the resources, at times finding them, it's not easy. And you can start thinking of working in big projects. If people have created things manually in different locations, and then if someone leaves the company, and then it's called upon on deleting those resources, they are manually, it's chasing them to look and delete. Again, it's prone to error. It's likely certain things will be left there, and maybe when the AWS bill comes up, that's when people realize there's a service sitting here, or there's a resource sitting here and consuming um, right? So before you go, you identify to delete it. So when you create resources using a AWS template, so that entire stack, you can delete it, and we'll see again. For those of you who have done that, you must have been able to practice creating and deleting, but we'll do a short demo shortly on that. So you can be able to remove the resources you have created by deleting that stack. The beauty of CloudFormation also is that it's you can actually replicate, because using the same template, you can deploy the resources and say US each one. You can come to Europe and you deploy it, be it in the London region or maybe in Frankfurt, right? So what that means is you can have this setup. You can have a template with resources, Lambda, VPC, RDS. You use the same template. You go to the region, because as we'll see, CloudFormation is a regional service. So when you are deploying, you always have to pick a region where you want to deploy. So I can put all of this in US each one, and it will work without a problem. Then now, if let's say things are working well, we need to deploy those same set of resources in Europe or in Asia, I can just go ahead and pick that region, click the template and deploy it. So you can be able to have the same template and deploy it in many regions. But if you were to think of creating the same resources manually in each region, so think of example, creating an EC2 in US East one, in London region, in South Pacific, or in Asia region. If you were to go to the console to create that manually, one by one, how much time it will take, and also the errors you have. I'm just talking about EC2, but imagine if there were 10 of them, of the different resources, Lambda, VPC, the security group. You may have other things like there's an event bridge, or maybe other services of interest, right? It becomes much more complicated. So that's why it's important to recognize the power of the fact that you can reuse the same CloudFormation template. He highlights this with a yellow here. So the thing about CloudFormation is that reuse that comes into play. Now, CloudFormation, you can either write it in JSON or YAML. Most people that use YAML, but you will see that there are lots of examples in AWS documentation that comes either as JSON or as YAML as well. YAML is more readable, easier to edit, and allows for comments, right? So throughout the course, you'll see what that means, and I'll get that. So An AWS form defines the items you want to create, update, or delete as part of a stack. So now I'm just trying to talk about, this is supposed to be a template. So, so a CloudFormation template would define the resources you want to create, how you update or delete as part of a stack. This should be a template. It always consists of several sections, and the only required section is a resource section, which you must declare at least once. There are so many sections, but you cannot have a template without the resource section defined. Yeah. So I got this from AWS documentation as well, but just remember that this is where I'm defining CloudFormation here. I'm defining what the template looks like. It's not a stack. I'll update that. You can, so there are different ways to create templates. We'll be using the text editor, which in this case, Visual Studio Code. And in it, you can use JSON or YAML, but there are other ways that you should be aware of, even if you don't use them. Just for general knowledge, there's what is called AWS Infrastructure Composer, a visual interface for designing templates. IAC generator, you generate templates from resources provisioned in your account that are not currently managed by CloudFormation. This is something that just came new. The IAC generator works with a wide range of resource types that are supported by CloudFormation. So the point here was, now there are, and I'm sure this came, so just imagine before CloudFormation came, there were already people who already defined resources in their account. And the question is, how do you go and generate templates from those resources? This can also be maybe a task that you may find that you may encounter at work. Let's say if there are some resources sitting and they are already created manually, and your manager may be like, I would like to have a template of those resources. There a way to do that. You can go ahead and look to see how IC generator works. Right? That's something I've not really used because it's not long this came up, but just keep in mind that that's something that can happen. And maybe along the line, I'll try to see if there's a lab on how to do this, because it's a nice to have skill. Like, how can you convert resources that are already on your account to, let's say, to a template? Yeah. All right. Are we all together? Just checking in. Hope no one has gone back to sleep. Well, no one is feeling sleepy. Yeah, Stephanie is crying. Don't worry, you won't sleep soon. Okay, good. We're all together. Thank you all. Yeah. So again, you see just fundamentals. We have talked about CloudFormation being a regional service. You must always pick a region. But the other interesting thing is, how does CloudFormation work? When you have a template, you must upload it. You always go to, when you realize that when you are uploading, when you go to the CloudFormation service and you are uploading your template, it needs to be stored somewhere. So your template is always automatically uploaded to an S3 bucket, right? So we'll see that shortly during the demo. And for those of you who have done it, you should be aware. So where is your template always stored? It always gets into an S3 bucket once you upload it, then before your stack is created. So that's something you should keep in mind. It's regional. Your templates always that you create always end up in an S3 bucket. You can create a CI/CD pipeline for infrastructure by integrating code pipeline with AWS CloudFormation. Yeah, so that's a topic that you'll get into later on, but just know that that's something you can do. So a CI/CD pipeline, you can integrate with that. So that's something you'll see later. You can also, AWS CloudFormation is also integrates with CloudTrail. So when you remember, everyone should remember what CloudTrail is, who does what, where, and when, right? It's always doing an audit. So keeping in mind that CloudFormation is going to create resources So it's important if you have to figure out who is creating those resources, when and where is that happening. CloudTrail should give you that answer. So whatever thing you do, you can log CloudFormation API calls with CloudTrail. You can also manage permissions on who can manage your stacks using IAM, right? So those are other concepts that you can look into later on in the course, but for now, it's good to know that you can integrate CloudFormation with those services as well. When you are using, we must have come across the Cloud Development Kit CDK, which also allows you to write cloud infrastructure as code using Python and Java. Why Python and Java? There are some people who are very good in Python, very good programmers, and they don't see any reason to go and start learning CloudFormation. They can write their code using Python, right? So for these developers, AWS decided to create the CDK here. And what happens is it's still going to use CloudFormation. So an author using a developer or a programmer using AWS CDK, you can write your code in Python. That's for your resources. And then when you go to deploy it, what's actually happening is CloudFormation will take that, bring it to a template, and then deploy those stack. So even though you are doing everything in AWS CDK, when you ask that to be deployed, what really is happening in the background is that CloudFormation is what is running. It's taking what you have presented, and it's actually going to run that, creating a template and then deploying the stack, depending on what you have done. So AWS Cloud Development Kit came for people who are already comfortable with Python or with Java. So it doesn't mean that if you have to go and learn Python so that you can declare in your infrastructure, you don't need that. If you are just new and you don't want to, you are not very good in Python, just learn how to write CloudFormation templates. That's already good to go. But there are some nerds who always want to program things, right? So this comes for them. I think this service we came across during our studies, you can just see how that works. Now, so that's all. That covers section 1. Any questions, or are there some things I left out that someone wants to point out or want to comment about? You can put that on chat. I had to rush and do that last night and this morning, but I think I covered everything. Okay. Or if there's something of emphasis, as I say, this will fall for you. It will be because when the topics will be done by all of you or really want to see interaction, people adding comments, people putting emphasis of what they did cover and they think they should point out. But for now, I don't see any comments, so I think we're good. So what I can just point out is, how do you set up, that's a question that Cynthia was having. I think your Visual Studio, not that I think, your Visual Studio Code should just work out. It shouldn't be, and if we cannot handle it now, then that's something that maybe can be handled. Maybe someone who has it working, Cynthia, you can just put that on chat, and maybe someone can come along and help and sort that out for you. If not, that should then be done on Monday evening at least. But your cloud, I'll try to just show how that works. So when you install your Visual Studio Code, it should actually, I don't know how it looks like. It should actually just be empty. Are you able to see something like this? Cynthia, when you have it, you should just be able to create a new file. That's the key thing. So are you able to let's say see empty space like this? That should be okay. Or
Yes,
how does it look, Flag?
it's because it's not a new one I installed. I had it I've been using it, but it's just so crowded and mixed up that I don't know how to rearrange it now. So
Crowded like you have many files, or
yes, I've
crowded
got some
like, do you
files
want
in
to?
there, so I don't know how to sort them out.
Yeah, so
I'll
it's
have
not
to
really
start
a
now.
problem. Yeah, so it's not really a problem. And maybe this is what I will show that helps you that you can do. So normally what I will do is when you can just, everyone can create a folder. Let me see if I have that here. So what normally, I'll say, so I don't think it shouldn't, it doesn't really have a problem, right? So you can go to your Windows. How am I going to show you? Okay. If you notice what I did here, it can be better. So just go to Documents, go to Documents, create a folder. You can call the folder CloudFormation Study Group. All right. And then once you've created that, you can come to File here and you say Open Folder. This is going to create a new workspace. You see, for me, I have here CloudFormation. So this folder that you have created, this is where you want to put everything. And once you do that, immediately every other thing that you have will just immediately disappear. I mean, just try to do that. Just create a folder, call it CloudFormation Study Group or whatever name you want to give it. Then come here and open that folder. So it will become your workspace, or you can add the folder to your workspace. Like now I can add a different folder. Let me see if I can. Let me say I put Python here. If I add a different folder, I think it's still loading. You see, I have Python here. So it loads everything that is on Python. It's a different folder there, right? And all right, it gets into its own workspace. So you can then be able to use that. So most of what you initially need to do is just to close out some of the things that are open, but I'm just guessing all of this. But yeah, but just try to see. Create a folder, come ahead and open it, and then go ahead, create your resources or create your files only in that folder. Try that. If you have questions, make a screenshot, put it on the study group, and then maybe someone can come to work with that. So once you have that open, so that's just setting up. For now, I'm not doing that. So just create your, ensure that you have Visual Studio Code. Just create a work folder where you'll be putting everything. Well, I did send the video on how to integrate Visual Studio with your Builder ID. Has anyone succeeded to do that? It's very straightforward if you look at that video. I know we're not using it now, but just checking. Anyone try to do that yet? Okay, Read1 has done that. That's good. Yeah. So later on, that will be very helpful when you just want to like see how to generate some code. We'll play along with that. All right. So Read1 has done that. If you are doing it and having trouble, just put that on in the study group again and ask. Maybe Read1 will be able to create time to do that sometime with you or maybe before the session. But I would really encourage that. Look into the YouTube video and follow. It's easy to do. So let's go ahead and do the demo, and I'll just show you how, for those who may be having an issue, it's just basically, and the demo I'm doing, I'm just going to use I'm just going to use what he had. So what I've done is, So what am I doing? Let me bring the course. So I've gone through all of this. He gave an example here where he used so like I have this when I'm downloading, I'll put that here first template. So if you have your folder where you'll be putting everything, then like if you notice, let me bring if you look here, section 1 activity. So you have that first template, this YAML, okay, that's what I'm looking for, right? So first YAML template, right? So if you download that template, it's here on my, so this is it, I've downloaded it here. I have here first template. There are other ones. I did this some time ago. I think when we were still studying, this was in February. So I have a template here. Once you download that, you can open that in Visual Studio Code. That shouldn't be a problem. So if I just right click it, it opens on Visual Studio Code. At least now you are not yet writing, but I'll show you. So if you click on it, that's the template. It just comes up here. I right click, it opens. So if you notice, it's being stored as .yaml. So when you'll be creating templates, you always have to put them as .yaml. And this structure here, if you notice, what I can show is when you learn in the next section of the course, which is section 2, Introduction to Templates and Resources, it's going to show you when you are creating AWS resources, you always define this first part is always there. The description here, just that someone knows what you are trying to do. Then resources, remember resources is one of the things that you must define. It's compulsory, right? So when you define resources, then you go ahead. The way you write in YAML is you have resources here. If you notice, there's a 2-line indentation, right? So you have to give this some sample cues. Then you go ahead and you define this here. You see there's another indentation here, 2 lines. And then when you are coming back here, sample topics, right? You also define that. The other thing is, again, in AWS documentation, you can go and just copy, let's say for compute, the structure of the YAML file is already available. You can go and look into the documentation and copy some of the YAML files and even just adjust them and play with them to see how they work. But I'll look for that video on, that's about 45 minutes on just to understand the structure of a YAML file. And so that you have an idea, I'll share that. But he's going to introduce the structure of template there. But at the moment, we're not getting more into that. Once you download the file here, that's all, because you are not writing it, you have it here. You just go to your AWS account. Where is my account? Let me bring that up. Okay, which account? Yeah. Right. So this is a demo. Again, it's a regional. CloudFormation is regional. I have to pick a region. Most of the time, as we have experienced in our labs, when you have I'll say when you have something, I remember there's a lab we did, it was working in North Virginia, but didn't work in other places. So North Virginia seemed to be, it's always it's the first AWS region. And at times there are, I think everything can work here. And I think you all remember that when you are deploying certificates for CloudFront, you should always create them just in North Virginia for global services. So there's something peculiar about North Virginia that you should always keep that in mind. So if I look for the service CloudFormation, We're doing the demo. So this is how the console for CloudFormation looks like. You want to create a stack, right? We have a template already. So with new resources standard, you can always pick this out. So this way you always go to creating a stack, step 1. There are different ways you can do that. Choose an existing template. We have a template, so we'll use this one. But notice build from infrastructure composer. That's one option, right? I did show that there are different ways, the 3 different ways. You can use this. That's not our focus for now. You can also, this GitHub repository, maybe specify a GitHub repository. That's another way you can do that. But in this case, you can provide maybe an Amazon S3 URL. If your template is located in an S3 bucket already, you may want to provide that, but that's not what we are having again. You need to upload a template. When I upload that template, it's going to go straight to, let's see, it's my first sample template, right? Let's pick that. If you notice, immediately you put that, you see S3 URL. It's created in US East 1. You can actually go and see this bucket if you did follow the, and I'll leave that as an assignment for everyone, because if everyone should be doing the course, if you go and follow, you see that he showed also in the course how you can really go and see that this file, there's a file is here uploaded in an S3 bucket in US East 1, right? So very easy. Once you have your template ready, you come to CloudFormation console, you go to upload, you pick that up, you go to next, you have to specify the name. You just put test template. Let's just give it that name. There's a recommendation, or there's a format stack name must contain only letters, numbers, and hyphens, and it must start with a letter. So you can put a hyphen if you want. You can put a number, 1, 2, 3 if you want. But the key thing is you cannot start a stack with a number. It must start with a letter, right? You cannot start that with a number. A maximum of 128 characters. I don't know who can be given such a doc name. So we have 16 characters here. This is already good. So I have this tag. Parameters is something you see again later. So I've given the name following the recommendations. All you do is you click next. It gives some options here that you can include. At the moment, I don't want to use any of those. There are some stack failures here. If let's say it's uploading and something happens, the default option is that it roll back. So if you create a template, and if AWS try to create the resources and encounter an error, this option is trying to, you have to tell it what should AWS do, or what should CloudFormation do. So if you encounter an error, you want to roll back. That's the default state. Everything should be deleted. But if there's the other option where if you encounter an error, you may want that CloudFormation keep the resources as created, right? So it's always going to be left on what you want. There's another one here, delete newly created resources during a rollback. Again, so that's what will happen. It retains or deletes created resources according to their attached deletion policy. So these are all options that you will learn in later on in the course. There are additional settings. But again, for now, we're just doing the basic review and create. So those are the 3 different steps. You upload your template, you give the details. If there are any options you want, you put them. And then here you just have to review everything and then submit. There used to be, they have changed this. There used to be an option that will ask you to acknowledge that this will create resources. You may find that in some old labs, but yeah, you don't need that. Once you submit, the interesting thing here is you see events. right? It shows you create in progress, so you can see what's happening. And you can always refresh here and you'll be seeing what's happening, right? So it started here. You see the time it started 6:37:30 UTC time. So this is when we submitted, user initiated. 37, after 3 seconds, the sample topic create in progress that was running, sample queue that was running again. That was running until I can refresh again. Everything must have complete. So it has this refresh button here, and it will be giving you an update on what's happening, right? Event. Of course, for a very large template, a lot will be happening, but you can refresh it to see everything going on. And if at some point, if it encounters an error, you see it rolling back. Let's say we'll be deleting the things it has created. So this has completed. So you can click on stack info here. We'll give you a stack ID, status. Remember again, what's a stack? So everything we define on that template, it will create resources and you can manage them as a stack, right? So, status, stack ID, the status of that stack, create complete. And there are many other things here that are not of interest now. We have seen events. What are the resources that have created? So remember, that has created, this is the link to it. There's a sample topic. There's a sample queue. So an SNS topic has been created as well as a queue. Later on, you will notice as you are learning and going that you can actually have some outputs that will appear here, but this template didn't have. There are parameters. We'll see that again in this same course. If you had them, they will show here. Yeah, the template, that's the template that we submitted. It's showing here as well, right? Change sets. That's not something we have done here yet. If you wanted to update the stack, but you'll see that later on again. If you are using Git, yeah, but we have not used that. So get used to looking at the console here. Get used to looking at the console here and understanding what is represented in each of these outputs. There's an option to delete. If you want to update the stack, that's something that will come up. Stack actions, these are some things you'll learn as well. Later on, if there are drifts, you'll learn what that is. And of course, you can always create a new stack. Okay, so this creation is straightforward to everyone, right? Just give thumbs up. We just had a template, we just uploaded it. That's the process. I hope everyone, thank you, everyone. I hope everyone is clear with this. No one is struggling with what we have done. So you should be able to just download the template and go ahead and run it. Nothing else for now. That's what everyone should be capable of doing. And you can then go to resources here. If I click on this, it should be able to show me the SNS topic that has been created. So it's going to go to SNS and display name, my sample topic here. And you see it's having test-template 123 sample topic dash all of this. So it's using part of the name of the stack and other information, right? So we have a topic that has been created with this name. Remember, if you are creating a topic manually, yeah, that's what you will have done. You'll come click create and then you type it. But initially we didn't have a topic here, but it has been created. And it's the same thing if I move to London. I can decide on CloudFormation. Okay, this is going to show there's no topic here. So I can decide and come again to CloudFormation. Just going to show deploying the same resources. So if I'm in London now, you see there is nothing here. I can come back and reuse. So that's the power of reusing your templates. I can come and pick the same template, follow the same, okay, still uploading. Give it another name. I'll say test sample 2, right? The options, I don't need to bother as we did before. I'm just on review, create, and I submit that. And that same template is going to generate resources here. See that I've launched. It takes a very short time, and that should create, right? So if I come to simple notification service here, and I come to topics, I see now that in London as well, I have a topic created. And that can be for any resources that you have. I think I did CloudFormation documentation. So this is what I mean, I did post this link already on the study group, which I will say should be your, okay, this is where I got the definition of CloudFormation, how to get started working with templates, template format. So for those who have done section 2, this is where you can come and pick, you see, this is the YAML format. You always have the JSON format. As you notice, you have to put strings, and there are in different areas. People mostly make errors here as well, but the YAML format, as you notice, this is always going to be there, the template format version, just like when we learned how to write policies. There's a description, it's a string, right? So that's where the guidance on why the template is, if you look here very well, right? You see that AWS template, this comes, description is a string, there's a description here. Then there are other things that you can do. All of these ones are not compulsory. You learn about parameters and mappings or conditions. All of this will come. You see, then this template has resources. This is the compulsory thing you need to do. And how is that written, right? So these are other things you'll be learning later on: metadata, parameters, rules, mappings, conditions, transform, and then outputs. You see that. Then this is an example of a CloudFormation template with YAML comments. Remember, you can add comments, resource section. So this is where I'm saying, like, well, as you are doing the course, come back to the documentation and you may pick some things just to add on, right? If you want to add comments on your template, you use the hash here, resource section here, properties, a hash here shows this is a comment. You just want to define that. So this is how you can define resource section. And you can copy this. If you were like trying to look into this, you can just copy that. I know this means I'm not trying to use that, but you have new file here. If you paste this, it recognizes that it's a YAML file. You see that you can save that, save file. Did I put that in a new one? Let me put, yeah, okay. You have to save that file, control, I put control S here. It's not looking for the save files. I can say EC2 sample.yaml. Yeah, so yeah, once you have this, that's what I mean. Like when you start learning resources, you should be copying some of this and then just adjusting on what you have. Like for example, the AMI image here, you need to go and copy that from you go to a particular region and copy your AMI ID. Because this one, you see, is just a sample one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. It doesn't work. Instance type and everything. You can copy things like this, come and run them, and you see how the structure always looks like. Okay, so yeah, so this is the template format. But apart from that, we have created a stack. To run up this, the next thing is deleting the stack. So once you create a stack, it creates a list of resources. And once you can create minimal stacks here, and I think let me show that by uploading. I'm in North Virginia. The other template, which is coming from the activity, that's what he had on assignments. And please, am I too fast? Just give me a thumbs up if you're able to follow. Been moving from one area to another, but just give me a thumbs up. Hope no one is being left behind. Oh, it's a study group again. If you are quiet, thank you, Emmanuel and Big One. You don't help me and you don't help the group as well. So let me just put this template here and show you can create. So I'm going to call this activity 1. Section 1. Just so there's a template for that. This one I'm sure doesn't have any parameters as well. I'm just going to submit that. So I just wanted to show that you can have different stacks being created. I just want to show that here. So I have one here that already completed with the test template. There's activity 1 here, right? And why was I doing this? So this one is still running. It's going to create an RDS and a sample DynamoDB table. So why was I doing that? I just wanted to show that when you want to delete a template, you have a stack, you have to make sure that you have highlighted the right one, because you can have many stacks here. So I want to delete the test one here. I can then come and click on delete. It's going to launch a delete for that. And you see that events will also be showing what's happening. Right? Delete in progress, that's 6:49. I did launch that. So it's going also to be running that. And after some time, it should tell me when delete is complete. And what does it mean for delete to be complete? That means if I will come to North Virginia and I try to look into topics, it should delete this topic. And when it's completed, this topic should be deleted. I should go to North Virginia because that's where I've launched the deletion. So if you look now, there's no longer, remember we did create, in North Virginia, we did create, now the topic has deleted as well. So that's how it could be many resources you will have created, and you launch a delete, it will delete all of that. Okay. And you will see also on that deletion process, it shows delete is complete. Right, so if it encounters an error, you will notice that. But then this other stack here that we created, create complete, is still moving on. Sample table, I think it's still rational things, but yeah. Maybe, okay, it's this one that has not yet updated. So the other thing is you can see there is one active here. If you want to see the deleted stacks, you can click on delete. It will show you the deletes that have been deleted. Here is one I did some time ago. That's in April. You see this is the one that is deleted. So if you are looking at stacks deleted, you can come and look that here. They also show if you're looking at the ones that are active, those are the ones that are currently running. So get used to the section 1 is just for you to get used to the console, know where to look for things, right? Know where to come back. If you remember, you have stack sets, know when to come to stack, see where they are, and any other thing that you want to do. Any questions or something someone wants to add? Or thumbs up if you did learn something this morning, or if you did follow. Okay. Right. So rounding up, that is actually the basics, fundamentals that everyone should try to cover and be comfortable with. Like I've said, focus on building some depth as you study. Focus on the good thing about the course is that if you come to AWS documentation to learn, there's just so much, you'll get lost on what to do. But the course should help you know when to come to the documentation and what to pick, right? Really just focus on, because this is the only time you want to spend learning CloudFormation. So focus on building that depth such that when you are taking any certification and you see CloudFormation, you know you really, the topics there, if you look at SysOp, there's a place for CloudFormation. The developer course, there's a section for CloudFormation because you can write AWS certifications, especially going forward, without knowledge on CloudFormation. So taking time to learn this gives you an advantage on any other certification you will be learning as well, because you'll be comfortable with the topic. Coming back here, looking at how everyone who writes courses, everyone comes to AWS documentation. No one sits and starts writing it from offhand, right? The documentation defines how things should be done. It's just that people take it and then put it in the language that they know is best for students. Right. So if you notice, there are some templates, snapshots here. Those are like sample templates you can come and look at. So this should be something interesting for you in section 2 of the course. So I think that was it. If there are no questions, I hope you have an idea on how you should think of presenting your presentation. If you need I always encourage, if you need the slides here, the default slides and to use them, that's fine. But don't overwhelm yourself. Don't be so worried if, let's say, you can't have it organized. Like maybe, of course, if you try to have it organized, like how I've done, and why not even better, maybe some of you can be better presenters. That's good. It's a great practice. But if you are not able to do it, remember that everyone starts from somewhere. Just do what you can and present, and then later on keep learning and improving. I also started somewhere and I've just been improving going forward. Okay. Any questions? Or comments? Take silence way. No. So we're seeing, okay, regarding the time, is 2 times a week okay? Give me thumbs up if that's okay. Is 2 times a week okay, or should we make it 3 times a week? Because I see many people are already pushing on the course. If you do it 3 times a week, and if you are putting the time, maybe we'll finish it faster. 3 times a week, Stephanie says. What about the others? So maybe Monday should be converted to a class itself. But I remember that 3 times a week, Emmanuel says as well. All right. Yeah, I think I was putting 2 times a week, just trying to make sure that I think I don't know. No one is voting against that. So it may then be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Wednesday. That's great. So it works for you. So you guys can plan Wednesday, Friday, and yeah, if Sunday works for you people, that's also a good one. You may say Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. And maybe Sunday may work for many people. For those, there are some people that maybe have to jump for work, but Sunday morning, you may instead, rather than finishing at 7, you could push it to 7:30, right? Stephanie, I'm remembering that you may want to sleep, but the things we do for cloud, right? I think you can add 30 minutes or more, but yeah. With Sunday works, let's go
Saturday
ahead.
night.
It's Saturday night.
I want to study on Saturday night. But that's okay.
You know what?
Whatever day we take is fine.
That's like, yeah, that's good. That's what I'm saying. The things we do for cloud, right? We can postpone the parties for now and
Summer.
do that later.
Summer.
And it's summer. Sorry,
It's summer. There's parties every Saturday.
I know. Don't worry. You party after the courses. So that's good. So let's put Sunday. Is that working for everyone? Sunday, right? Okay. I'm not seeing something against. So we'll put Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, and then Monday evening just to catch up, right? So please keep doing your own share of the work. Come to the study groups ready to talk. I may not be present in some of them, but I'll try to just come around, see what you are doing, and encourage. I'll definitely be there on Friday. Yeah, just to encourage. Yeah. Right. So that was it. Wishing everyone a good day and good night to you, Stephanie. See you all. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, bro.
You're welcome.